This is Levi Salamon's video series on Brazilian antitrust law. The fight against cartels has been a top priority for Brazilian antitrust authorities. Consequently, investigative means to detect these violations have been significantly improved over the last few decades. In this video, we'll introduce these tools and describe how parties can benefit while helping CADE's cartel enforcement. The Brazilian leniency program was launched in the year 2000 and has been increasingly used over the last years. Leniency agreements create incentives for participants in a cartel to come forward and provide CADE with the necessary evidence to prosecute the cartel in exchange for full or partial immunity from administrative penalties. In Brazil, a company or individual may only benefit from a leniency agreement if 4 requirements are met. First, the applicant must be the first one to come forward and confess its participation in the antitrust violation. Second, the applicant must immediately cease its involvement in the practice. Third, the applicant must agree to fully cooperate with the investigation and help identify other cartel members. And last, at the time that the applicant comes forward, CADE must not have sufficient evidence to ensure its conviction. The negotiation of a leniency agreement begins when the applicant secures a marker by communicating its interest in signing a leniency agreement to CADE's general superintendents. To be eligible for a marker, the applicant must provide general, high-level information on the parties, the conduct, the affected market, the territory, and the estimated duration of the alleged cartel.
If a leniency agreement is reached, the applicant may be granted full or partial immunity from administrative penalties. Full immunity is granted if the applicants reached CADE before it had any previous knowledge about the conduct. However, if CADE did have knowledge, the applicant can benefit only from partial immunity and the applicable penalty could be reduced by 1 to 2/3. If the leniency agreement is not reached after negotiations, CADE's notes, written records of oral statements, and any other documents that might have been produced or received by CADE during the negotiation are given back to the applicant and no record is kept. Also, the facts described by the applicant may not be construed as a confession. Nonetheless, it is still possible for CADE to launch an investigation based on independent evidence it has obtained by any other means. Besides the administrative sphere, a leniency agreement can also protect directors and employees from criminal persecution and sanctions. But it may still expose the applicant to risk because it does not provide immunity from private actions for damages. Given that a leniency agreement in Brazil is a public admission of wrongdoing, third parties that were harmed by the cartel may still seek compensation for losses and damages. So parties considering a leniency agreement in Brazil will have to consider this downside. Alongside its leniency program, the Competition Act also provides for other possible agreements in case of voluntary reporting. For instance, if a person or company does not qualify for a leniency agreement because it was not the first to ring the bell, it may apply for a settlement agreement, which is known in Brazil as TCC or TCC. The applicants of such agreement must acknowledge to CADE their participation in the invested conduct, agree to cease the conduct, assist in the ongoing investigation, and pay a settlement fine. As a reward, CADE's investigation against the applicant is halted and the applicant will be granted the discount regarding the applicable fine. Although TCCs signed with CADE only provide protection against administrative liability, CADE may play a role facilitating further agreements for wider protection, such as agreement with the Public Prosecutor's Office for criminal cases and with the General Controller's Office for public probity cases.